Danger Days, My Chemical Romance's fourth album, which made a drastic change to the style they used in their previous works. The MCR community seems to have a lot of different opinions about this record, so I'm super pumped to hopefully bring something unique to the table. This video features probably my most unpopular opinions out of any of my past MCR projects, so be prepared to get mad at me. These are all my own opinions, you're welcome to leave your own in the comments, and with that said, let's get into it. Enjoy. Starting off at number 17 with Scarecrow. As far as I can tell, this track isn't a huge fan favorite, and I can definitely see why. I just don't think the different elements of the song work together, especially the vocals. This is without a doubt one of my least favorite performances from Gerard. It just feels very similar to a bad Beatles song, and I don't like the Beatles. I suppose the guitar solo on the bridge is okay, it's probably the only part that sounds fine. So though, Scarecrow is in my bottom 2 of MCR, because even in a song like Early Sunsets, there are times when the song can hit, but not with Scarecrow. Yeah, I'm one of those people that doesn't like the Mad Gear and Missile Kid EP. I know some people really love these songs, but I never really understood why. Sure, I do like the concept that these were what the Killjoys listened to during the story of Danger Days, but the music itself just isn't for me. I literally counted out the time, and out of this 96-second long track, 85 seconds of it are just, I got a medical emergency or woes. Sorry, but this one is not for me. Masters of Ravencroft is noticeably better than Black Dragon Fighting Society, mostly because it rocks more. There's still the same issue of most of the track being the same few lyrics, but it's slightly more bearable. I actually do enjoy the bridge on this one, that's probably the main part that makes it better than the previous entries. There is something really cool about the final line though, which is, I'm so effing alone. The reason that's cool is that this was, I believe, the last song that MCR produced before the breakup, and the first song they wrote all the way back in Bullets, Skylines, and Turnstiles starts with, You're not in this alone. Just a cool Easter egg that may or may not have been intended. Again, I wish I liked these songs more, but I don't. Finishing out the Mad Gear and Missile Kid EP is F This Whole Wide World. This is definitely my favorite out of the EP, mostly because it actually feels like a proper song. Don't get me wrong, it's still on the shorter side, but at least there's a bit more of a progression aspect. The bridge especially is probably my favorite part of the whole EP, that along with the outro where Ray's shredding in the background. I still wouldn't say I love this track, but it's a good step up from the other two on the EP, and its silly lyrics make it enjoyable to listen to sometimes. Here's my first wildly unpopular opinion. Everyone seems to really love Bulletproof Heart, but I think it's super overrated. Now, I'm not a music expert by any means, so the chord progression stuff that everyone talks about is like a foreign language to me. I have no doubt that whoever wrote the chords and whatnot did a great job from a technical perspective, but it just doesn't sound that good to me. Sure, none of those parts sound bad by any means, but there's also a pretty low ceiling where the best part's probably the chorus, which is decent at best. The bridge is kind of a dark spot too. Again, not bad, but just very mediocre. If I had to choose one thing to not like about Bulletproof Heart, it would be that the different styles don't really click for me. There's a weird mix between electronic sounds, guitars, and the drumming feels kind of watered down. I know a lot of people have Bulletproof Heart as their favorites, but not me. Another song about California is one of those songs that I really don't know what to think about. That's mostly because the quality throughout the runtime is super inconsistent. Honestly, the only reason this track isn't 2 spots lower is the chorus and the bridge. It takes a whole minute to get to the first section that actually sounds good, the first chorus. I feel like much of the song suffers from bonus track-itis, where everything sounds less polished and much more like a live recording. Now, don't get me wrong, bonus tracks can be great, but a lot of the time when bands release them on a deluxe edition or whatnot, the production feels very rushed and lackluster. This is most noticeable with the vocals, especially in the verses. But enough negativity, let's get to the pros. So, the chorus. Yeah, very nice. I like how while the verses sounded more hopeful and happy instrumentally, the chorus seamlessly takes a much darker tone. MCR is amazing at executing these smooth transitions between moods, for example in Early Sunsets and This Is How I Disappear. That's honestly what saved the track, and then of course the guitar solo goes along nicely with the darker theme. Great work by Ray. At this point in the song, everything seems to be going well, but then in the middle of the solo, it switches back to the opening riff, which is just so disappointing. Like, I understand returning to that riff at the end of the song, which they did, but I just think sticking with the more sinister tone through the entire bridge would have been a much better move. Overall, We Don't Need Another Song About California is fine, definitely not my go-to, but still better than most of MCR's bonus tracks. Summertime was very difficult to place for me, mostly because it only really hits about 10 or 20% of the time. You know what I mean, when you're sitting at a park bench during a foggy morning with no one around, that kind of feeling. When you're in that kind of blissful scenario, summertime is the perfect thing to listen to. It's just that that's not usually the case. Additionally, the love song aspect doesn't work for me at all because I've been very, very single my whole life, which is my problem, not the songs, but still. When I listen to Summertime in the album, the common issue I run into is the track order. This one comes right after Scarecrow, which is already my least favorite on the record and is also a softer Blissful type. By the time I'm done with Scarecrow, I'm usually ready for more rock, which Summertime really is not. Like I said, there are times that everything works out really well, but the sort of cheesy lyrics combined with the much softer instrumentals really lower the floor of this track. I do have to give props to the bridge, though. The guitar solo is the perfect amount of melodic, but also soft to fit with the atmosphere and really emphasize the blissful feel of everything. The transition from the bridge to the last chorus is great as well, and that last chorus is definitely my favorite with an altered melody and slightly screamier vocals. I like how in this section the singer's beginning to beg his lover to stay. The transition shows that really well. Anyways, I'm not going to go into the lyrics because they're pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, Summertime is a very pleasant listen, and I do really like it sometimes, but just not all the time. Next, we have The Kids from Yesterday. For a while, I considered this to be one of the worst songs from Danger Days, but over time, I've come to enjoy it more. The lyrics are a great story of nostalgia, describing the band's feelings about growing up and growing as a band and as people. It's a beautiful anthem of self-reflection, with the happy instrumentals remaining unchanged even during parts where the lyrics are much darker. And that's what I love about The Kids from Yesterday. It's unrelentingly hopefulness even in times of struggle, because you know everything is going to turn out okay. The progression is also really well done. Even though there are no huge changes at any point, the way the drums gradually get faster and the vocals seem to get more intense plays along with the story nicely. I wish I had more to say, but just another pleasant track that still has that signature MCR charm to it. Party Poison is a very fun, groovy song. There's never a dull moment and just very fun overall. It's a stark contrast to, say, Bulletproof Heart, and the guitar melodies are super addicting. There is one issue with the non-stop energy though. That's the fact that there's very little breathing room for progression and everything like that. I guess the bridge offers a bit of time to calm down, but the calmer atmosphere doesn't work as well because the lyrics stay the same. I know that's nitpicky, but that's the whole point of this video. On the positive side though, the melodies are very nice and the placement in the album is perfect. I love how 2 songs earlier in Planetary, there's this very clear, party feel going on. Danger Days in general seems to go back and forth between energetic and sad and even dangerous or sinister at times. For example, after Planetary is The Only Hope for Me Is You, which is more of a hopeful love song type. Then after that is Party Poison, which of course brings things immediately back to a party, and to add to all that, this is the perfect thing to come before Save Yourself, I'll Hold Them Back, which is like a combination of the party style and also a dangerous epic adventure kind of thing. But anyways, Party Poison is very fun, and definitely a solid song. Destroya has been one of the biggest fallers of this album ranking-wise. Like I said with Teenagers in my last video, there's just not a lot of replay value here. Initially, I loved Destroya. The reckless sound was something that I really liked, and I thought it was one of the potentially top 3 songs on the album. Over time though, the charm has faded, leaving something that feels very unpolished and inconsistent. There's a similar problem to the one in We Don't Need Another Song About California, where the verses totally suck and the chorus is the saving grace. The guitar on the chorus is nice, which makes up for the subpar vocals. After the first 2 choruses though, there's this... Yeah, people really love the moans, and I get it if you're in love with Gerard, but I'm not, so it kinda just makes me uncomfortable. The entire bridge after the Destroya part is super boring and makes me skip to the next song half the time. The reason Destroya is this high though is the chorus and the parts where Gerard repeats Destroya. Those are the only parts where the reckless style actually works. Destroya, like I said, has fallen in the ranking very far over the years, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it falls even more in the future. I just wish there were more consistency in this track. That's been a common issue with most of the entries in this video so far, which is very telling. From here on out though, things improve a lot. Planetary is another very fun groovy tune, basically a slightly better version of Party Poison. The reason I think it's better is mostly because of the much larger variety of sounds and melodies and all that. Planetary just feels much more complete because there's actually a little bit of progression. Even in the beginning it starts off slow and then gets into the groovy style for a while. The pre-chorus is also a huge step up from Party Poison in that it calms things down to build up to the chorus. My favorite part is definitely the chorus because it's just so fun. I also have to give props to the bridge. Contrary to Party Poison, the bridge introduces new melodies, and instead of stopping the energy altogether and trying to overcompensate, Planetary keeps a little bit of energy with the guitar and leads into an awesome transition into the last chorus. I love the lyrical theme of not bowing down to societal pressure and just having fun. Unfortunately, I can't think of anything else to say, so on to number 6. Na 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 was the first track I ever heard from Danger Days, and one of the only ones I knew for my first year of being an MCR fan. I guess nostalgia might play a small part of this ranking, but who cares? Similar to Planetary and Party Poison, Na 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 is very fun, and talks about not letting anyone stop you from doing what you want. While I do like that general message, having 3 or 4 songs in the same album with both similar vibes and the same message can get a bit stale at times. That's why I struggled so much with whether to put this at 6 or 7, because Na 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 and Planetary are extremely similar. The factors that barely push Na 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 above its competitor are of course nostalgia, but mostly the guitar solo and the bridge. That guitar solo is my favorite part of the song and one of the best parts of the whole album in my opinion. I think Na 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 could have ranked higher if not for its titular lyric Na Na Na. I generally don't love when songs fill a huge part of their runtime with the same lyric, which I talked about earlier with Mad Gear and Missile Kit EP. I don't know, I feel like most of the songs in this video so far suffer from the same few problems, which probably comes down to my personal music taste, but that doesn't matter that much, because the top 5 entries on this list step things up. Vampire Money is famous for making fun of bands that made songs for the Twilight soundtrack, which immediately makes me think of Decode by Paramore, which, funnily enough, I think is better than Vampire Money. The whole song is kind of a joke, it doesn't exist inside the Danger Days concept. With that said though, I still like it more than most of the album for a few reasons. 1, the party style is done by far the best out of the tracks we've discussed so far. 2, the piano in the chorus makes me imagine the song is taking place during a bar fight, which is a super cool touch. And 3, the bridge. The slowdown at the beginning of the bridge into the insane guitar solo by Ray is one of my favorite moments of the record, maybe even more than the one from Na Na Na. Aside from the bridge, the chorus is by far my favorite out of all the party style tracks, and of course the intro. Well, I think I'm alright. 1, 2, 3. You gotta love the intro. You can't not love the intro. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy, but Vampire Money just sounds great and that's what gives it an edge over its predecessors. Thankfully, this is the last of the overtly party vibe in this video. The Only Hope for Me Is You was difficult to place because the quality is pretty inconsistent throughout the runtime. The chorus is the only part that I really love, but it makes up for the mediocre verses. I guess The Only Hope and Vampire Money could switch spots, but they're really close. Anyways, the chorus, like I said, is my favorite part, and it's gotta be one of Danger Days' best choruses. I also love the message of sticking with someone through hardship. The lyrics paint this theme of war in a fallen society, which is a great metaphor for broken relationships and just someone's life falling apart. The person that the singer is saying all this to is the one that has kept him going through all the struggles and gives him a reason to keep on. The melody in the chorus is super catchy and addicting, and the use of more electronic sounds actually works. The only thing keeping The Only Hope from being higher up are the verses, the bridge, and the fact that it takes over 70 seconds to get to the first good part. The bridge especially feels like such a letdown. MCR used the most generic possible style of build-up, which is kind of disappointing. The intro is also just way too long, but I guess it could be worse. 0% is the second bonus track from this album. The message for the billionth time in this video is basically to not let anyone keep you from doing what you want, rebelling against the system and all that. The thing that makes these lyrics better though is the added violence. To build on the darker lyrics is a darker tone with the guitars for most of the song. The verses are really great, especially for Danger Days, which doesn't usually have very strong verses. There's never a dull moment, which is in stark contrast to The Only Hope for Me Is You. Right off the bat, the guitar in the intro is much more sinister, which we haven't really seen since the Black Parade. Gerard is almost rapping in the verses, which is not something we're used to seeing, but you know, it works. The chorus itself is obviously very catchy. I especially love the violent lyrics going along with the much happier sounds. This is the thing that puts 0% above songs like Na 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 and Planetary. Here are some lyrics from this track. Shoot up everything we see, I hope you die, and I hate you, kill everybody. It doesn't get much clearer than that. The contrast between the dark sounding verses and the happy sounding chorus and bridge is something that MCR has always been amazing at. On to my favorite section, the bridge. For starters, Ray is just going absolutely wild in the background. Gerard's vocals feel almost out of breath, which I'm not sure is intentional, but either way, the rushed sound of it all contributes to the atmosphere amazingly. Same goes with the chorus, I guess. After the bridge is the last chorus and then the outro, which is probably my favorite part of the track. I mentioned this earlier, but here's Gerard says, I hate you, kill everybody. That's such an awesome way to end it. The guitar in that part is also very similar to the ending of The Foundations of Decay, which is always a plus. I was unaware of 0% for a while because it's a bonus track, but I'm so glad I discovered it because now it's a very valuable part of the album for me. Sing is surprisingly near the top of my list. Generally, I rank slower, more poppy songs lower, but Sing has somehow found its way to number 2. The main reasons for that are 1. The piano in the verses and outro, 2. The lyrics, and 3. The bridge. So there's nothing too special about the verses, honestly, but there's something about the piano that makes them so much better. I guess it's something to do with the rhythm, I don't know. The lyrics, of course, bring this message of standing up for what you believe in and choosing to advocate for those who need it. Again, nothing too special, but I just really love the lyrical themes of a lot of these songs. The chorus is very solid, but I would say the section that puts Sing above the previous entries is the bridge. Even the transition out of the chorus is super nice. A simple guitar riff with some drums is apparently all you need to lead into an awesome bridge. The weird thing is, though, I don't know why I love this part so much. There's nothing I can immediately point to as to why, so I guess it's the culmination of all these factors. The bridge's lyrics are also my favorite from the whole track, with a lot of talk about how big companies manipulate people with no regard to morality. My favorite line is, "I'm not the singer that you wanted but a dancer." I think that line's cool because it emphasizes the way that the system wants everybody to be robots without freedom of thought. After that awesome bridge is the final chorus, which is the best of the 3 choruses, just because there's more repetition of the main points and all that. The last minute of runtime especially is really nice. I love how everything fades out with the piano, drums, and tambourine. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. I know my reviews are extremely amateur and a lot of the time I'm just saying nonsense, but I really do appreciate the support. Now on to my number 1. You already know what it is. Save Yourself, I'll Hold Them Back is by far the best track from Danger Days in my opinion. As you can tell by the 10 out of 10 rating, this one is one of my absolute favorite songs ever made, definitely top 20. This is what totally saves Danger Days from being my least favorite MCR record, and I'm so glad there's something for me to look forward to when I listen to it. I'm going to go pretty deep into this one, so prepare yourself. The first time I heard Save Yourself was I think in late 2022, like October. Of course at the time I already knew the hits like Na 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 and Sing, but this one was one of the tracks on the album that I liked most immediately. I wouldn't say I was instantly obsessed like with The Sharpest Lives, but over time I began to enjoy it more and more. Where I think it shines more than the rest of the album is, for one, there's an absolutely insane bridge, and then of course it rocks harder. Most of Danger Days feels like less of a rock album and more of an adventurous, crazy, energy-packed story, which it is. And that's completely fine, but for me I prefer rock and heavier guitars, which the record just doesn't have much of. Even this song isn't particularly heavy or anything, but the structure and use of the guitars and their melodies feel much more like typical MCR. Even at the very beginning, the opening riff is super addicting in combination with the drums and faint vocals coming in. The use of electronic sounds is also the best of the album and probably all of MCR. These sounds are present in the background for a lot of the track and really help to fill some of the would-be empty space. I won't spend too much time talking about the verses since they're pretty standard. They build the energy very effectively, and Mikey's bass is subtle but effective. I feel like I don't talk about Mikey as much as I should, but in some songs like this that he really shines. The pre-chorus continues to build energy very well, and of course the lead guitar is more prominent than in the verses, which I think is pretty normal for a pre-chorus to do. The chorus is amazing, one of MCR's best choruses for sure. It utilizes the essential Danger Days energy while still keeping that gritty MCR rock sound. The guitar in the background of the chorus sounds amazing. They really found all the perfect notes to play. I also need to mention the drums. Drums are one thing that I don't seem to notice too much about Danger Days, but in this track they're elite. I don't know who played drums here because I know the band had multiple different drummers either write or play drums on different tracks. Maybe even Ray wrote some of them, I don't know. But whoever it was killed it in this one. The first chorus is of course amazing, but I really want to focus on the second and third choruses. The second chorus is just an extended version of the first. It's a small thing, but I love the O that distinguishes between the two halves of that chorus. The harmonies on it are great. I also should probably mention that the vocal harmonies throughout this entire song are amazing. My absolute favorite part though is the bridge. One of MCR's best bridges of course, and a top 5 MCR moment. Where do I even start? The transition from the second chorus begins with a callback to the intro with the "Are y'all ready where you are?" The guitar right after the line, "If you save yourself tonight," is another great touch to lead into the main part of the bridge. That section starts with Gerard screaming, "Can you save yourself tonight?" followed by a ridiculous guitar solo by Ray. The drums as well are just smashing and they're amazing. Every single element is put together flawlessly and it actually feels like peak MCR. The transition into the last chorus is done well too. The final chorus is even better than the previous two, including an F-bomb that perfectly emulates the energy the track built up to. The second half of this chorus changes some notes and lyrics to perfect the message, and then the outro happens, which is good. I can't stress to you enough how much I love Save Yourself. The fact that it's not even one of my top 3 MCR songs says a lot about how amazing this band is. This is the piece that turns Danger Days from a decent album to a good one. That was my personal ranking of My Chemical Romance's Danger Days. Definitely on the lower side of MCR's discography, but still a very respectable record. If you're interested in seeing future music content on this channel, please consider liking this video and subscribing. I have plans for a lot of videos on a lot of bands, which I put a list of in the description, so if you see one of your favorites, please stick around for more. Even if you're just here for MCR, I have 3 more videos about just this band planned for the very near future. I'll also put a link to my Spotify in the description, where I have a bunch of playlists that you may enjoy, including one just for MCR. Thanks again for watching, and have a nice day, guys.